Welcome back to the Weekend Journal here on News Talk 580 WTC, and brought to us by Rectangles Rugs in downtown Traverse City. Yeah, they show you the rugs, you fall in love. Yeah. All right, well, I'll tell you what. First of all, let me thank again Steve and Chip. I thought that was fascinating. Mental health is an issue that, is complicated. There's so many facets, and those two guys have been at it for so long. Hopefully it helped a little bit. I hope that the Health and Human Services and our community mental health can be more collaborative like it was in the old days. Sounds like that would be a great place to start. All right, let's take a look at the headlines here. Stories making news, or should be, out of Lansing. I want to start with one that, as chair of transportation, I was very much aware of and tried to do as much as I could. Next week is National Work Zone Awareness Week, and it runs all next week. The idea is to make sure that we slow down and be very careful in those work zones. 3 workers and 13 motorists were killed in Michigan work zones in 2024. And, those speed limits are there for a reason. I remember once it was 60 miles an hour in the work zone, no workers present. So I was at 60, and there was a gal just tailgating me, and I could just see she was just fit to be tied, doing this as she was driving. So let's just be careful out there, because you don't want to injure a road worker. No, because that's something that's going to stay with you your entire life, and not to mention, of course, ruining a family. So anyway, next week is a week to be aware of those work zones. All right, governor. Who's running for governor? Well, Mike Cox has entered the race. Former Attorney General is now officially in the field. So that says, okay, on the Republican side, there's Mike Cox, U.S. Rep. John James, Senate Minority Leader Eric Nesbitt, and some business guy, I guess, Anthony Hudson, who I have not really heard much about. Democratic side, Michigan State Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist II, Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson, and, of course, on the independent side, Detroit Mayor Mike Dugan. So just so you know, and obviously as we get closer to the election, there'll be more talk about all of the offices that are open. One of which is Attorney General. And the first person to throw their hat into the ring is Mark Totten on the Democratic side. He is a former U.S. Attorney General, U.S. Attorney, pardon me, and he wants to succeed Dana Nessel. Totten is known to yours truly as he was the chief legal guy for Governor Whitmer in the early years of her governorship, which means he was the legal guy who was advising the governor during COVID. And I believe he's the guy who said, there's this 1935 Riot Act that really shouldn't be used this way, but we can take over control and bypass the legislature. And that's when things really went to hell, when COVID. And so I don't have a soft spot in my heart for Mark Totten. Michigan Republican-led House Oversight Committee voted this week to authorize subpoenas against Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Basically, they've asked for records on training manuals and that sort of thing for county clerks. And the Secretary of State says, well, it takes time to get that stuff together, like 5 months. And so the Oversight Committee said, and Jay DeBoyer, who is the chair, said, these days of these departments and the Secretary of State just doing whatever the hell they want, his quote, without anyone watching them is over. Oh, pardon me, that was Matt Hall who said that. Legislative oversight is back, it's serious, and they need to comply. And if they don't comply, then we'll drag them into court. Now, I will say that I do believe that governmental oversight is huge. Now it can be abused. It can be used to just see, we gotcha. But there are serious oversight things. Why do you do this? And it is the legislature's job to do that. So I know it can get a little, political, but you got to fight that because it needs to be done. So we'll see how this all goes. Here's Chair DeBoyer's comment. He said, the request is only for the production of records related to clerk training materials previously requested. So he said, they want them. They want to talk. We'll see what happens. I'm sure they will probably end up in court on that one, but I think it's good. And by the way, we're going to have Chair DeBoyer from the Oversight Committee on next week's show to talk about this particular situation, obviously, and just oversight in general, because, again, I am a fan of oversight. Line 5. Oh, my goodness. There is an old chestnut in there. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is moving to allow permits to take place. President Trump announced earlier in his term that he wanted to fast-track those types of things, and the Army Corps out of Detroit is doing just that. That has got the Greeniac's hair on fire. It's never made sense to me. Line 5 sits on the lake bed. It is monitored 24/7, and cold water, fresh water, so it's not deteriorating down there. And they want to, but people want it off the lake bed. Okay, so let's move it in a tunnel 100 feet below the surface, so that if it does leak, you can plug it and take care of it. Plus, they can run other utilities through there. I don't get it. I want to have a show on this too. But again, as I have always said, if you are against Line 5, you're against oil. And the problem is oil is used in everything. Look around your house. So much. It's not just for dirty old gasoline, for dirty old cars. Everything we do, all the parts of an electric car. Oil, petroleum byproducts. Oh, okay. We had big storms. A lot of folks, if you're listening to this and watching this downstate, you might not be aware, but we had a tremendous ice storm move through 12 counties here a few weeks ago. And the House Appropriations Committee passed a $75 million appropriation supplemental this afternoon. It's got to go through the Senate and then get signed by the governor. But that will give the 25% needed match for the federal grants, which we have not gotten any assurance from the president that we're going to get. And Senator DeMoose has legislation allowing school districts in those emergency counties to get an additional 10 days off so they don't have to make them up. Again, that's got to go through both houses of the legislature and signed by the government. It probably will. The only thing there is sometimes they can really be slow moving that stuff out, especially in the Senate, let's say. So that's something Senator DeMoose is going to have to keep his finger on the pulse to make sure it's moving. Let's talk about that ice storm for just a minute. For those who might not be in northern Michigan and not understand it, the forest industry contributes $26.5 billion to our economy. And according to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, the U.S. Forest Service says Michigan ranks 10th in the nation for forest area land, 20.2 million acres, most of it in the northern lower part of the Lower Peninsula and the UP. Unlike a tornado, which touches down and moves through a path, this ice storm hit 12 counties. Salvage wood, which is in abundance, they say, fetches roughly half the value of a regular tree, and there's no insurance available for timber grown by private landowners. So we're in a bit of a problem. Justin Kepner, the executive director of the Michigan Association of Timbermen, said Michigan forest products industry has already experienced a downturn. He says there's a glut of wood now. The markets are suddenly flooded with way more than they need. The saddest part is a substantial amount of it is just not going to be utilized. There's not enough loggers out there to clean it up quickly enough. Also here, let's see here. One gentleman doing some math says, this is really ballpark, but 100 trees to an acre wouldn't be unreal, said Jeff Stampley, chief DNR forester, says, that's a lot. It's potentially tens of millions of trees by that math. The financial losses aren't yet clear. Said for vacationers and passersby, the hardest hit woods will look and feel different for an entire generation. So if you're coming up here this summer and you're headed to north of M72, be prepared for a shock. This is an interesting one. I remember when this happened during COVID, and a lot of people weren't happy. But what happens is that the news cycle moves so quick, we forget about things. At least I do. I'll point the finger. One at you, three at me. Grand Rapids dentist wants a judge to stop the state from enforcing healthcare professionals to have to undergo ideological training to maintain their licenses. Dr. Kent Wildern alleges the License and Regulatory Affairs Department, their implicit bias training standards, is not authorized by any statute, and it's unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional to weaponize its licensing powers, et cetera, et cetera. Moreover, Michigan's mandate of implicit bias training came from an unelected agency rather than the legislature sidestepping any public debate. If you remember, what happened was George Floyd, that whole case was going on, COVID-19, and there was discussion that hospitals were discriminating against black patients. And so I just find that terribly insulting, because anybody I've known that's been in the healthcare, from paramedics, EMTs, to nurses and doctors, they want to help everybody. And to just assume that everybody needs racial bias training, it needs to go away. If we find a person who has done something wrong and needs training, like anger management, we do that with somebody, and they need it, fine. But to just say, to get your license, you have to have this, that's just wrong. My humble opinion. Remember that one of the rules of this show, the Weekend Journal on News Talk 580 WTCM, is I'm just telling you what I think. You can agree or disagree with me. That is your right as an American to be wrong. Let's see here. Currently, the Michigan Department of Transportation says $2.5 billion is going to be needed for the roads. That discussion is starting to happen. I'm trying to move along here because we got a short time. That is happening. The Senate Appropriations Committee has met. Chair Anthony is saying, well, if we do this, what the Republican House wants, there's not going to be any money left. Well, I don't know how true that is. I'm looking for my numbers here. All right. She says what the Republicans are asking for is 20% of the general fund. The general fund is about $16 billion. So that means there's $65 billion sitting there and other things. We need to find the money. It can be done. So I would say to Sarah Anthony, look for it. I bet you're going to find the funds to do it. And hear the Republicans out. And I think the governor leans more towards the Republican plan because the Senate really hasn't proposed anything. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. All right. Last week, if you remember, we had Rep. Preston on to talk about one of the things was about the rice generators. Don't shut them down. Well, that bill was heard in committee and moved out this week and is on to the House floor. So we'll see. I'm sure it's going to pass the House. Senate's another question, and then you got to get a governor's signature. Just remember, everything in Lansing, there's an old saying, 56, 20, and 1. What does that mean, Jack? 56, 20, and 1. You got to get 56 representatives to agree with you. You got to get 20 senators to agree with you, and you got to get one governor's signature, or it don't become law. I remember people, we'll just write the bill and send it up. Okay, we can write that bill and send it up. But will the governor sign it? Probably not. So where do you go? How do you do it? So, anyway. So I hope that Representative Bonnick's exemption gets through. So last week we talked about the governor being in the Oval Office. Republicans thought it was terrible that Trump let her in there and said nice things about her. Democrats thought it was terrible that she went in. But then the picture surfaces of her with the thing in front of her face. Governor, You're sharp enough. I'm sure that's a moment she wishes she could have back. Because this will be a mime forever and a day. Let's see here. I think I'm going to pass on that one. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll pass on that one too. All right. High school districts packing kids into the classroom. There's a Detroit News article that said thousands of elementary school students in Michigan, some are as young as 5 years old, are learning to read and count in classrooms filled with over 30 or more children. This is not a good thing. I can run through the numbers. The article is in the Detroit News. You can look it up. But it goes on to say that they say that the best class size is 18 to 20 for especially the little kids. Fifth grade down. But when we've got so many schools with 30, and we're wondering why our kids aren't doing as well as they should, that might be a big part of it. I know in my day, they'd cram us into that classroom. There was also corporal punishment back in my day, but we don't do that anymore either. So something to think about there, and politely talk to your school boards to find out, hey, what's our class size, and how can we get that down? Let's see here. Here's another kid story. An audit recently released by the Office of Family Advocate did not do certain, they say an audit released recently found the Office of Family Advocate did not do certain reviews for over 150 child deaths in the state. They selected like 30. Why did we have 150 kids die in the state that were in Michigan, oversight? That ain't good. And to not have that, again, this is why you have an oversight committee. Why is this Office of Family Advocate having 150 child deaths in the state and they're not looking into what happened? That just seems wrong. I'll bring that up with Chair DeBoyer next week. I'll save that one aside. That just is crazy. Oh, yeah. All right. So you might know that, what is it? I think it's District 10. That don't have a state senator because the gal that was in there became a congresswoman or something. And the governor needs to hold a special election, but she hasn't done it yet. And Representative Schuette has a bill that says if the governor doesn't hold a special election in time, then they should get a cut on their state taxes because it's taxation without representation. I don't disagree with you. Let's see here. We're getting there. All right. I think we're pretty good. Those aren't critical. Anyway, next week is Safety Week, road worker safety. Keep that in mind as you're cruising around and about because there's a lot of construction starting out there, right? The Weekend Journal here on News Talk 580. Next week, I'm going to have exciting news. A YouTube channel should be up and running. The Weekend Journal on News Talk 580 brought to us by Rectangles Rugs in Traverse City. Have a great weekend, a happy Easter. It's a great day to be alive.